Hey guys, this is Tashina from Logical Harmony, and today I'm going to be doing a get ready with me video. This is just going to be for a quick, natural, everyday look. So this is like my first get ready with me video ever. We did just record one where I demoed the new Too Faced Born This Way foundation. So I have already applied my primer, which is the Too Faced Hangover RX, and foundation, which is Too Faced Born This Way. So I'll link to that video down below so you guys can see those steps and see what I do. It's very, very simple. It's very easy. I think it's just good for me personally. When I watch people doing get ready with me videos, I like to see stuff from start to finish. But I feel like at this point we are starting pretty early on. All I have on is primer and foundation. So this is just going to be me finishing up the rest of the steps. And I'll link to all the products that I use down below in the description box. I'll try and make sure to mention them all, but just in case I don't, they'll be listed below. So like I said, I've already applied primer and foundation. So next I'm going to apply concealer. And this is the Pacifica Transcendent Concentrated Concealer in Natural. So I just apply this under my eyes, kind of in a triangle shape. And to help highlight, I do put it a little bit past my eyes up into my temple area, just to help give that some brightness. And I put a little extra right there. And I'm also going to apply this down the bridge of my nose, on between my brows, my upper lip, and a little on my chin. Just those are areas I really want to bring forward, so I apply concealer there to help do that. And I'm gonna blend that out with my beauty blender. So, I can't talk when I'm doing that. I do think that it's important, for me at least, when you're blending concealer out, you want to blend upwards, because really it's all about like lifting those parts of your face and bringing them forward. So just blend really gently, but blend in an upwards motion. I also think that just makes it easier to blend, and it doesn't keep it, I don't know, it just looks more natural to me at least. And for me, an everyday look is really about looking like yourself, but better. Just a little more polished, a little more put together, hiding a little of the flaws. So for concealer, first I do blend upwards and out, but I like to go back in and do forwards and backwards. And the reason for this is that it helps prevent concealer from kind of settling into any fine lines that you might have. It kind of like the first swipe kind of, I don't want to say fills in any fine lines, but it puts product down, and then when you're blending it out, it creates like an even smooth surface. It's kind of like when you're painting your nails. You don't just do one coat, you do like two. And they don't have to be thick coats, you want them to be thin, but it just creates a nice even surface for the product to sit on. So again, I blend outwards and up, and then I do get my lid with the concealer, and just back and forth a couple times. And I'm doing really light, bouncy motions. I'm not sure if you guys can really see that. But it's kind of, I'll show you on my hand. So you just want to be like quick, light bounces. And for me, especially with the Beauty Blender, that's the easiest way to apply product. And then because there's usually some excess on here, I just go around the edge of my nose, where I tend to get a little red. Okay, so that's the base for my face. I'm not gonna be doing any sort of heavy contour today. If you guys do wanna see how I contour my face, leave a comment down below. I could film a separate video, but I'm just gonna be sticking with bronzer, blush, and a highlight, and then a setting powder. So I like to actually set my face first before I apply bronzer or anything else, and I'm going to be using the Pacifica Perfect Lotus Universal Powder today. And I really like this one. It works for everyone. It's more of a transparent powder, but I find that it just has a really nice natural finish. And the brush I'm using is the Pirouette Professional's P02, which is their powder brush. And I don't use a whole lot of product when I do this, so I just, dab it in there, just a tiny bit on there, and I usually can cover most of my face with that. It's because I don't want to take away the shine. I don't want to have tons of product on my face, but I really want to set this so that it doesn't crease and it just wears a little better. And I do apply a little bit of this under my eyes just to set my concealer. So next I'll be going in with bronzer, and I'm using the Too Faced Dark Chocolate Soleil with the Pirouette Professional's P03, and this is their duo fiber brush. I personally love duo fiber flat top brushes for bronzer. for me, it's just what works best. Again, use a little bit of product, tap off any excess, and then I'm going to apply this as if I were applying a contour and just blend it out more. So I'm gonna do, you know, suck in my cheeks a little. And you can see that line. And that's normally where you'd want to contour, but I apply bronzer there too. So I apply it with the flat top and then I just blend it out. And again, you want to blend outward and upward. So into the temple, over your ears, and on your hairline. And this just helps warm up your face a lot too. So again, over your ears and then up into your hairline. Just really, you know, when you apply your foundation and your concealer, sometimes we can kind of take away that natural color that our skin has. So this brings a little bit of it back and just gives you some warmth. So I'm gonna apply some extra along my hairline just to really bronze that up. And similar to when you're contouring, you do want to apply this carefully. You don't want to put it all over your forehead. You want to leave the middle where you applied concealer, where I applied concealer at least. I want to leave that empty so that it's pulled forward a little more, but over here, I'll kind of bring it down. Just helps brighten things up. And then I'm going to apply just a tiny bit along my jawline and blend that down. And when I say a tiny bit, I mean a tiny bit. It's pretty much whatever's left on my brush at that point. So do a tiny bit more over here. And then I also like to do a little bit on the bridge of my nose and under my lip. So this is kind of subbing a bronzer for a contour, which I don't typically do, but I think when you're wanting to do a quick makeup look, that's just an easy way to look more pulled together. I'm using the same brush and I'm kind of just squeezing it so it's nice and narrow. And I'm just gonna do a quick swipe. So it doesn't really deposit much color at all. It's a little bit. You know, I think with makeup, a little bit goes a long way, and that's something we tend to forget. Oh, it tastes like chocolate. So next I'm going to be applying my blush, and this is the e.l.f. Studio Blush in Twinkle Pink. And I'm going to be using the Pirouette Professional's brush in P04. I personally think that this blush is a great dupe for the NARS Orgasm blush, which was one of my favorites before I started using only vegan makeup. And it's just a really soft, pretty, peachy blush. I think it looks great on everyone. So for me, it's a great everyday blush. So I want to apply that, you know, right above my bronzer onto the apples of my cheeks. So I smile and apply there and just, again, blend outward and upward. You definitely want the most product here, but you want to blend it out so you don't have you don't want to look like a clown, let's be real. And I know we've all seen that on people. So to me, this just creates a really natural looking flush. And for highlight, I'm using the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Pressed in Opal. And I'm using an e.l.f. blush brush. I like this best for highlight. I hate this blush, I like this for highlight. I don't like it for blush. So that's what I'll be using. And Opal is probably my favorite highlight shade out there. It's so gorgeous. Just tap off any excess. This stuff is very pigmented. It's kind of pricey, but it's worth the money. It's so gorgeous. So I'm just gonna apply that above, a little bit on my cheekbones and around. And I don't know if you guys can see, but it's just like a really pretty kind of gold highlight. And I kind of apply it the same way I apply things with the Beauty Blender. I don't do strokes, I do quick dabs. And to me, that just distributes the product a lot more evenly and more naturally. I'm also gonna apply a little bit right above my lip and to my forehead, just a tiny bit, and down my nose. And on my chin, why not? So just a tiny, tiny bit, just to give you guys reference. I've had this for well over 6 months. I think I bought it last fall. It still pretty much looks brand new. So like a little bit really does go a long way. So that is it for my face. And now I'm going to move on to my eyes. I like to do my brows first, so that way they're done and then I can get a better feel of what I want to do with my eyes. So I'm using the Anastasia Brow Wiz in soft brown. I can't remember if this color is still out anymore. I think it is. Sometimes they change the name of the colors, but I think that this is the best brow pencil I've used. It has a spoolie on one end and then the product on the other, and it's just a very, very fine tipped product. And that's what I really like about it. If you're someone like me, these are my natural brows without anything in them. I don't need anything heavy. I don't need anything crazy. I just have a couple little gaps that I want to fill in and a couple spots I want to, you know, make look a little bit better. So I like to start at the bottom of my brow. I like that to be the heaviest, and just make little tiny, tiny strokes. That replicates your natural brow hairs just a little bit more. So I do it all along the bottom first, and then a little bit at the top, just on the outer bit, because to me that's where my brows tend to be a little bit lighter. Hair on my face. And then I do a little bit extra right here because I have a cowlick in my eyebrow right there. Fun times. And for this part, I will do it up, because I want it to replicate like the growth pattern of my brows. And just make sure they're even. Just to make sure that that's blended and I don't have any crazy weird lines or harshness, I like to comb through them again. And this is just a step I like to do. Not everyone, like it doesn't work for everyone. It works for me because I naturally have pretty thick eyebrows. So I like to just blend it out so it just looks more natural and more like your brows, but just a little bit more polished. Next, I'm gonna be prepping my eyes for shadow. I actually blend 2 different eyeshadow primers. So a few people have been asking me what I use for shadow primer, and I've had a really hard time finding a vegan eyeshadow primer that really actually works. So right now I'm using a blend of these 2, and the reason for that is when I use just one on its own, it leaves my eyelids like an oily mess. But somehow when I combine them together, they work really well. I don't understand it. These are both by e.l.f. This is their Shadow Lock Eyelid Primer, and this is their Mineral Eyeshadow Primer. For me, it doesn't matter which I apply first. I have no idea why the 2 together work differently than they do separately. I think one's $1 and one's like $2 or $3, so it's not bad. So I just apply that to my lids. I just blend that out with my finger. And be really gentle when you're blending stuff out on your eyes because your skin is so thin there. So I like to use my ring finger for that. And I blend it up and out to my brow bone because I'll be usually applying like a highlight up there and I want that to stay all day. So now I'm gonna go in with the other primer. I apply one on top of the other. Because again, that just helps. I have no idea why it works better that way. But I'll blend that out the same way with my ring finger. And again, going up to my brow bone. I don't apply primer onto like the inner corner of my eye or anything like that. I just really want it only where the product's really going to be. And also I find that it can mess with your concealer and stuff that you've already spent a bunch of time applying. So I'm gonna apply a lip balm. This is Olive's Lip Butter, and I just like to, you know, apply it now so I don't forget, and because I'm done applying anything that will be around my mouth. So now I'm gonna do my eyeshadows. These are all Makeup Geek. Their shadows are really nice, they're really high quality, and they have a bunch of vegan options. They actually have a list in their FAQ of what's not vegan because the majority of their products are vegan. So I'll link that down below. But today I'm going to be using Peach Smoothie, Creme Brulee, and Grandstand, which is from the Foiled collection. So I'm gonna go in with some fluffier brushes for this. And the eyeshadow brushes I'm using are by Nansky. I don't really know how you say this. I've had these for years and I love them. No matter what different eye brushes I, go back and forth from, I always come back to these. So this is their blending eyeshadow brush. It's just kind of a bigger fluffy brush. I'm going to use that to apply Peach Smoothie all over from like my lid up to the brow bone. And I start with that in my crease just to help build some depth. That's where I want the most color for this shade. And I'm gonna blend it up and down and going right back into that crease. And you can see already how much definition that's added. So start in the outer corner because that's where I want the most color, and then I blend into the crease and I go up and down, and right back into that crease. And the reason I kind of blend it up is you don't want any harsh lines. You want everything to be really blended and really balanced, especially how I'm doing like a more natural look. That's really, really important to have. So next I'm going to take the Nansky Eye Crease Brush and I'm going to use Creme Brulee and apply that into my crease and on the outer corner. So I'm gonna start this actually below the crease, right on the outer corner, and just kind of pat that on there and then bring it in. Back to the outer corner and up. I'm using their large shader brush to apply Grandstand by Makeup Geek to my lid, and this is from their foiled collection, and these shadows are just, they're so pigmented, they're so pretty. I'll link to my favorites video down below that I recently did. I talked about these two shades in there and showed swatches on my hands. You guys can see, like, they're so gorgeous. So I'm gonna apply Grandstand to my lid, and when I apply that, I like to start in the middle because that's really where I want the most color, and then blend out and in. And again, I'm doing that in just little patting motions. I find that distributes color better and more evenly, and then you're not undoing the work that you've done with the other shades. Even though they're really natural, having them there is really important. So I'm gonna go back in just a little bit with Creme Brulee because I wanna make sure that there's no harsh lines. So again, going back through my crease with that. And then a little bit more of Peach Smoothie at the top, just a tiny bit. Like, I'm pretty much not, I'm adding just a tiny bit more product, like dab, just a dab. I just wanna make sure there's no harsh lines and that everything's blended out, especially since this is a more natural look. This is pretty much what I wear every day. I just want it to look natural. To add a little bit of highlight up around the brow bone, I'm going with the Pirouette Professional's P11 brush and back with the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector pressed in Opal, just a little tiny dab. And this is a really fluffy brush, so I actually use it to highlight and then I kind of bring it down to blend. I'm gonna apply a tiny bit to the inner corners as well. Nothing crazy. I do like to add a little bit of color underneath, so I'm gonna go in with the Makeup Geek Creme Brulee on the Nancy tapered crease brush and just run it under my lashes a tiny bit. It just creates a little bit of a shadow there, and I find that that makes my lower lashes look fuller. So nothing crazy, but it's something, it just makes a difference, and that's why I like to do it. Pretty much the last step is I'm gonna apply mascara, and I'm using the Pacifica Stellar Gaze Mascara in Supernova, which is black. And this is one of my all-time favorite mascaras. I love that wand. It's just so thick. There's so many bristles. It really helps to grab my lashes. And I have naturally pretty long lashes, but they're fine. They're really thin, and there's a lot of them there. A lot of mascaras kind of just like clump them up into like 5 gigantic lashes, and I really hate that. So I'm just gonna try not to make a weird face while I'm doing this, and I feel like that's unavoidable. For me, it helps to get a more natural look if I put the brush down and I just blink onto it, which is kind of weird at first, but I like to do the first coat, brushing that out, and then just blink. And I do upper and lower. And a really important thing that I'm sure you guys have heard a ton of times by now is don't like pump your brush in there and let all this bad bacteria in there because of the air. Well, let's air in there and that builds bad bacteria or grows it. Try not to make a weird face. Okay. So for the last step in this look, I'm going to apply Pacifica's Devotion Lipstick in Tenderness. And this is one of my favorite lipsticks. It's just a really nice, natural, pretty color. And this is optional, but I just like to use it to bring a little more color back into my face. As you can see, it's really not a whole lot. So that's my everyday natural look that I wanted to share with you guys. It's quite a lot of products, but I just like it. To me, it makes me look like a polished, cleaner, like better version of myself. And I think that, you know, for me is one of the big goals with makeup is I really want to let like my natural features shine through and just enhance them a little bit. So thank you for watching this video. Like I said, this is my very first Get Ready With Me video, so it's a brand new experience for me. If you guys have anything you'd like to say, any comments, just leave them down below. If you've used any of the products in this video, let me know. I love to hear what different people think about different products. And I'll be posting a full list of everything in the description box too, just to make it easier for you guys. So as always, for more updates on cruelty-free vegan beauty and lifestyle, make sure you subscribe to Logical Harmony, and you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Logical Harmony. Have a good day. Bye.